A new America? A second Renaissance? This is a question I would like to try to answer because our economy right now is on the verge of, a collapse. Capitalism is a powerful economic system that has failed every generation on the government and corporate level. All ages are being pulled on this tug of war of both sides trying to ignore the issue. And even if there is no way to fully adopt an economic system, we are going to go to a new system as we speak. One that is not exactly capitalism, one that is not exactly feudalism, but one that is new. Americans are stuck in a weird spot where jobs pay less or the same adjusted to inflation, and the bosses will randomly fire you for a stock price dropping, but expect a 2 weeks notice. The modern economy is not a treat for humanity, or it treats humanity as a commodity, but a machine to be used, keeping people to actually see what is happening. Too busy with game consoles and other shiny things to see that since the 1950s, the overall standard of living has actually decreased for the poor and middle class. The society I'm thinking of is close to the 1950s architecture and culture of knowing thy neighbor and having structures that are more people-centric. If you look at cities now versus cities then, you would have small cities in the 1950s that had a larger sense of community and a lot of mom and pop shops like Bob's Tools, anything else like that, but now they're replaced by brick and mortar companies, which leads to more strangers in towns and people not actually knowing who works in the civilization itself. And a big issue with that is zoning laws. While brick and mortar companies can easily evade zoning laws or basically find another way, a lot of the mom and pop shops just have to close. They usually can't deal with the might of the federal government because they don't have the resources, but a lot of brick and mortars have those resources, which then causes a degrade of the community at large. Needs a renaissance. We need less employment and more business opportunities. This is all that America is missing. America has an issue with making people-centric areas because the laws that help larger companies that take money outside the communities allow the communities to rot. So larger companies or brick and mortar companies have this larger issue of just taking money from the community and just outright destroying the community. And it's been happening for decades for various companies. You could probably just see them on the S&P 500 and various other stocks on Wall Street. They take money out of the communities without actually helping the community itself. Large corporations are not necessarily bad, they are just soulless. A lot of people see them as bad, but I see it more as apathy. They just see money in stockholders and not what they've done to the community. Now, individuals in the corporations may have hardened souls, but that is not rewarded. All that is rewarded is stock market price go up. The soul is not taken into consideration, nor is the concerns of a town in a largely sprawling global empire. Vibrant-looking towns that were built up throughout all American history have been slowly dying since the 1950s due to large brick-and-mortar stores pricing the local community out of business. Then on top of that, making blander-looking buildings and just overall making the infrastructure more business-oriented rather than people-centric. And the communities are now full of strangers where rather than hiring people inside that town, it's usually 2 to 3 towns over driving into the community itself, which then causes a lot of issues, making the society overall isolated to help benefit these larger corporations and the global economy, where these corporations don't really care or understand how the company is or how the societies and the cities are actually run. So this means America is in the dark ages of its cultural, economic, and political history. The dark ages of America. America is in a very terrible economy, dealing with money that deflates its own value day after day, with the money printer going screeching. The American dollar has dropped its worth about 97% of its value since the 1900s. The American cities are becoming places of rapid consumerism and temptation of increasing debt. Land is being bought up by many corporations to rent out to poor and middle class people for high value. The taxman is making it impossible for people to hold on to farmland. And then they are bought up by corporate farms that then lease it out to farmers. Or farms that are controlled by other countries that are not exactly friendly to the United States. Or want to try to control the food supply. Corporations focusing only on the stock price and forcing laborers to feel stuck in an unending cycle of work that seems to feel more like serfdom every day. While it is happening in America and is becoming an oligarchy where the rich and powerful are elected, with an authoritarian market leading the democracy. So in general, America has this large issue looming over it where there's tons of issues and no opportunities. It feels like every generation after the boomers is slowly going to get poorer and poorer, which truly exemplifies the dark age of America. These and many more factors are causing Americans to feel the strain of this modern economy. They are being told that the economy is doing good and well, and yet they see their communities becoming more and more expensive, with the society killing the communities that they once spawned, where the only successful and political strong corporations are the ones large enough to be in the Fortune 500 companies, while the average citizen would have to pray that political change happens because of their dollar. Their dollar is shot, and the rent is going through the roof. Almost no political change happens without millionaires and billionaires backing it. A good example is Trump. The only time a new government actually took office was because another oligarch took charge of it. No average person can actually run for presidency anymore. To run a modern campaign, you would need money and ads. Those with an average salary cannot pay for it. But if you want to get into office, you would have to get into office with the lobbyists and corporate entities at your back. There's no way for a modern American to actually get into office anymore with just a few handshakes and actually talking to the people. They got to get 50 million corporations on their side, a few $1 billion, and have at it. America is truly falling into an oligarchy state. So, what's next? What can we do? After every dark age, there's a renaissance. What does an American Renaissance look like, and how would it be different from what we have now? I suggest that we, as a society, shape it in the form of trades, where one person can trade for another, but not in the way of a bartering system, but more so we start learning how to be our own entrepreneurs, and we learn how to run our own small businesses. We need to take back our communities, actually build our own equipment, and actually build an economy, or the economies of our communities, our cities, and our towns, rather than building up the global economy. If someone owns just a small wood shop, maybe get them to build a custom order. And if it needs repairs, allow them to repair it, because that keeps the money within the community itself. That's the issue. A lot of Americans' money go into these large corporations that then get sent out into either another state or another country. Americans almost never keep their money inside the communities, so no actual change in those communities are actually done. Some changes that we need is to build what in some countries are called the third place, The third place is just an area where people can hang out on their off time. Most Americans don't even have that area. They just have home and work. They slave all day, go to bed, to wake up and do it the next day. All the way until, they're 70, 80? Who knows, maybe Gen Z will have to wait until they're 90 to retire. If even any of them can make it that long with this modern corporate economy. That's what we need to focus on. Building an economy and a structural system that works for the people, for every generation. Not just working for the elderly, or not just working for XYZ generation, but works for every generation. Allowing for young people to build wealth. Because that is something that is not really seen in this America right now. A lot of older generations had a chance to build wealth, with their rents actually being a lot less than ours when you adjust it for inflation. A lot of people were able to get rent with 1 week's work. But now, sadly, we have to do 2 to 3 weeks work to get rent, then try to buy food with it. And that is also an issue. So Americans need to figure out a way to build their own microeconomies within their own towns and cities to allow for a better flourishment of people, of everything around. So let's say inside a town you would have John the woodworker, Bob the smith, and various other people, and they just trade services for each other, and probably got a lot higher quality services as well. And because they know the people, they know their reputation, and their reputation is on the line when they have to build for other people. That is what the Renaissance is. We need to bring back the apprenticeships. We need to bring back almost like a guild structure. America needs to look back at the Renaissance and see what they did right, and incorporate that so we could get out of America's dark age, or as I like to call it, the Second Great Depression. So, as a part of this Renaissance, we talked about needing to build third spaces, but what if we started reinventing our infrastructure, actually making more people-centric spaces where people can actually walk, greet, maybe build more areas where swap meets can happen, maybe build more artisan areas, maybe build almost guild buildings where people can actually bring materials to craft, communal crafting areas where people can craft, sell, and trade their goods. Almost making everyone into a Renaissance merchant. That might help boost our economy. People actually building, crafting, and actually have a tangible effect on the economy rather than being data entry number 1, along with data entry number 2, 3, all the way to 100. Constantly typing away at a keyboard, not knowing how it's actually affecting the economy. Maybe building online trades, maybe building Etsy stores, Shopify stores, any other type of store to help with buying, selling, and trading. That might help. Being able to live off of a wage and just shipping it off to the next person, or even just handing it to them in person. Being able to own their own shop. That might help in having a structure that isn't just high school, where people can actually learn, and not just learn, but be an apprentice under a master. Like, let's say if there was a way where a master smith who has their own company can just prove that they're a master. Then you would have apprentices under them who then can get their mastership from that said master. That would be an amazing addition to our economic economy. Capitalism can work, but it needs the room to work. With all this overstifling of small businesses, the only ones who can survive are the ones large enough to handle all those issues, and that is the truth. A lot of the smaller, quote-unquote, smaller people don't really have an avenue to advance upwards. So they're stuck wondering when their life will actually start because they go home, do an activity or something, go to sleep, wake up, work possibly from anywhere between 4 to 16 hours a day, go back home, and there's still nothing to do. It feels like for some people, their life only starts when they retire. And we need to change that. We need to build a community. In fact, this has also negatively affected a lot of older generations as well. A lot of retired people now only looking at YouTube or only looking at Fox News all day, their mind just going numb because they don't have anything to do at their own homes. And that's why we need towns and areas that actually help foster a community. Let's make America a community again. Let's make our cities a community again. And let's be a community again. And if you guys want more videos like this, please like and subscribe so then I can build a base here and I can actually produce more content. I'm also working on a world building series called Aston World, which is a bunch of stories I put together on various planets inside this massive universe with a large history spanning billions of years. If you guys are interested in that, just like and subscribe. I thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful rest of your day and make sure you drink water.